Curious, Philadelphia now under Bradley Carnell, one of the top teams in the league, top of the Eastern Conference. What have you seen from this team under a new coach that's made them so successful so far?
I think he's done a great job. Very clear identity of what they want to do, and they just execute. You see top of the league in crosses into the penalty box. A lot of chances created through crosses. So I think the biggest thing that I see is a very clear identity and good execution of that identity.
We'll go Alex, then Tim.
So a bit more on the Union. Obviously, they're going to be missing a lot of guys: Bariba, Sullivan, Harriel, Westfield, Ua, Blake, I think one or two others. Curious how you think that might impact the game.
Who did you just name? Say the guys you named again.
Baribo,
Okay.
Sullivan,
Yep.
Harriel,
Yep.
Westfield,
Where's Westfield?
injured.
Is he
I saw the press conference.
today? Okay.
Yeah, Andre
Keep
Blake
going.
as well.
This is new information. I'm just trying to gather it.
Yeah,
Who else?
Andre Blake. Yeah.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on how that might impact the game and your preparations for it?
No, for us, that's been the story of the year, right? Missing players. So I don't feel bad for them at all. That's how it goes. We're still missing players as well, and it is what it is. For us, I still think their identity is going to be similar, and we have to play our game and we have to try to win the game.
So Tim Hotziman, Red 97, about trying to win that game. The Fire have sometimes struggled more on the defensive side of the ball. Offensively, both teams are, near the top of the table in terms of XG and everything like that in the league. So what do you think the keys are to kind of like locking down the defense against a Philly attack that's still going to be dangerous, even missing players?
Yeah, it's something I've been looking into because obviously I've been frustrated with some of the home results, and I'm not sure the XG really tells, I'm not sure the results really tell the whole story because the XG is there. I think by XG goal difference we'd be fourth in the league at home. So some of it is hopefully time, right? And things will regress back to how they should be, and we'll start getting those wins. But apart from that, apart from the data and stuff like that, it's really about competing, and it's really about us, I think making the plays and putting ourselves in positions and really competing in important moments. When I look at the two goals that we conceded against Nashville, they're bad moments, and it's collective moments of not competing the way we should be. And so that's really what we addressed with the group this week. And I think apart from those two moments, I think we did a good job. And I thought we created enough chances to score enough goals in the game, and we didn't do it. But the goals we conceded, those moments were bad, and you don't deserve to win games if you're competing like that.
Hernan?
Yes, La Fila Deportiva. Greg, I think when the result seven that you won, put 7 goals against Nashville, you were missing kind of 6 players or 5 players that were in the team the whole year. Now, this coming Wednesday, you will have all the squad probably that you usually put in the field, Shinkarnaho, Bamba, and Kuipers, healthy. I want to know your opinion about how important it is, like you don't rotate too many players, but how important it is to have all your squad to these 2 games.
No, I think throughout the year we played a number of players, and we have been switching players out, and a lot of guys have gotten opportunities. This game, obviously, Chris Brady will still be out. Carlos Terran is still out. Kwame is still out. So we still got an extensive list of guys that aren't able to perform. But it's really about who's here and who is ready to perform, and that's what we've done all year. Whether that's Sam Williams stepping up and playing minutes, or Kwame at times stepping in, or Omar, or Sam Rogers, or Christopher Cupps. It's about the next man stepping up, and in this game, going into a 2-game home series, it's going to be about how do we put a team on the field to compete on Wednesday, and then do the same thing on Saturday. And we're going to need the whole squad to be able to do that.
We received a handful of questions from the Washington Post, so Carlos, I'll toss it to you.
This question is on behalf of Mr. Stephen Goff. As someone who's coached and who's played for the national team, how does it feel to watch Sebastian be a regular contributor on the national team with 2 games in the Gold Cup?
Yeah, it's funny because Sebastian's been around the national team since he was born, and he's got a lot of experience of watching games and being around the team and traveling. I think of the game in Scotland when the whole family went, and the games in the U.S. and World Cups. But the experience of playing for it is completely different, and I'm really glad that we get to share that together, because it is a special moment when you're lined up on the field and you're about to represent your country. And it's hard to put into words, and unless you actually do it and go through it, you don't understand it. So, it's amazing that, Sebastian and I get to share, those memories of competing and representing your country.
One more from him as well. I know Sebastian spoke about intense workouts with you during the pandemic years and how that helped him improve as a professional. What are your memories about those sessions?
I think the funny thing is I worked with the performance directors from the national team. I said, give me a hard workout to do. I told you this story, Joe. And they gave me a workout, and, it didn't even bother him at all. I go, okay, guys, I need a harder workout. And the next day we'd do the workout, and he'd breeze through it. And I go, guys, come on, man. We need to really push him here. And so we spent basically 2 months just trying to grind him down, and we couldn't do it. He was resilient, and he kept going. And, it was a special time. But I think that, to me, it's more about, the cumulative time, whether that's the games in the backyard that we played together, whether that's him in the basement kicking the ball against the wall for hours after he got back from training already with the Crew Academy, or whether it's his first team that he's played on in the United States. I was the coach of, I think it was a U9 team in San Clemente or something, United FC in California when I was playing for the Galaxy. It's that journey, I think, that we all have been on as a family to see him grow and progress as a player. And now, to get this opportunity to represent your country is a special moment.
Wonderful. Go back to the top. Joe?
I don't have as much of a personal question for you on that one, if that's all right. With the halfway point, Joe Bomba's got 10 goal contributions, but it seems like he can still provide more for this team. What is the message to him entering the second half of the season? Understanding we're also at the point where maybe his minutes are going to be not necessarily reduced, but monitored, as he hasn't played through a summer recently. So what are the expectations for Joe to get to that next level?
We're really happy with Joe and his performances. And I actually pulled him aside after last game and talked to him about, keeping his head held high because he's such a key contributor to our group. And even if he misses chances, don't worry, because you'll get another chance. And it's really about what's next rather than what just happened. We couldn't be happier with him and his work rate and his ability to create chances. And I think just has that cumulative effect on the opposing defenses where he just wears them down. He's able to put his teammates in good positions. He's a selfless player. So really happy with him and what he's done. And for us, it's being somewhat mindful of his minutes, but also DC game we took him out. So we'll find moments to get him some rest. But he's a key piece to what we're doing.
We go Alex, Tim, and then Hernan with the last question.
And I've got 2. So the first one is that Carlos Terán, obviously not out there today training.
Yeah.
I'm curious if there's an update on him coming back, and also on Chris Mueller, who we haven't seen yet this year, coming back potentially.
Yeah, Chris, it's going to be tough. I'm not sure he will be back this year. It's something that we're working through and trying to finalize right now. Carlos should be back, in a couple weeks. He's not ready to train. He was getting treatment elsewhere. We'll have him back in and really trying to get him, prepared as we enter the second half of the season.
And then one more, shifting gears a little bit. The academy season's now done. I know the playoffs didn't really go how you guys would have hoped, but given that you're overseeing all the soccer operations in this club, if you have any reflections on the first 6 months of what you've seen from the academy since you've been here.
I think it was a good opportunity to assess the coaches, assess the level of play, and then plan the future. We've conducted thorough coaching searches. We're going to be replacing some of the coaches, and working with some others and continue to develop the group. But for us, it's really important, this vertical integration, that the players have the game understanding needed for the first team, and we start teaching it at a young age. But we have a great player pool, and we're excited about that, and we're excited to see how we can continue to develop these players.
So we're in the middle of an extreme hot spell here in Chicago. It's kind of been throughout North America. It's been a topic of discussion around the Club World Cup and some other competitions. Can you talk about the challenges of training? It looks like it's going to cool down for the match on Wednesday, but just like the challenges of training and preparing athletes when it's this hot outside.
I think you have to be mindful. But I remember talking to the guys in Austin, and they went 60 days over 100 degrees. So that's, we're complaining about a little heat spell for 3 or 4 days. We pushed them yesterday, and one thing we noticed is that the perceived rate of exertion is a lot higher than the actual exertion, which I think is interesting. Guys were gassed yesterday after training, and we looked at the numbers, and it was about 20% lower than a normal Wednesday training. So, the heat does have an effect on what you think you're actually doing, and you need hydration to recover, you need good fuel to recover, you need good rest. So we're mindful of that. Today we backed off, and it was a really light session. But, for us, it's, understanding mentally what we need to do and how we need to get through that, and talking to the players about that mental resilience.
Last question, Hernan.
Yes, talking about the games. My question is, if you are looking at to the teams that are coming to play either on the national team level or the club world, to see if any player impress or will be in the eyes of the Chicago Fire.
Yeah, we have scouts at those games. We have a scout at the game tonight in Miami. So we're watching all the games.